To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please. And gentlemen, don't forget your microphones.
Trustee Polly.
Here.
Trustee Lappin.
Here.
Clerk Palovich here. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Here.
Trustee Kroll,
Here.
Trustee Reiner.
Here.
Supervisor Skibby.
Present. Moving forward into the adoption of the agenda, I do have one addition. We'll actually just put it as business item 1, which is you have the flyer for the Alpina Antique Tractor and Steam Engine Show, August 12th through the 14th on French Road. They're requesting a permit for hours of operation to be extended for noise. So we'll put that as new business item 1, shuffle everything down. With that being said, are there any other additions, subtractions, corrections to the agenda as presented? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda.
So moved.
Is there support? Move and support, further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Amended agenda has been adopted. This is the first opportunity for public comment that pertains to the agenda as presented. If there's any public comment in person, please stand at the podium and state your name, limiting yourself to 3 minutes. If there's anybody online or by phone, please use the bottom taskbar to raise your hand or notify us so that we can identify you and give you your allotted time. Again, this is the first opportunity for public comment for anyone online or by phone. Seeing none, we'll move forward onto the payment of bills. Is there a motion to make payment of the bills?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion on the table to make payment of bills. Is there support? It's been moved and supported. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward to the minutes of July 25th, 2022, which was a regularly scheduled meeting. Are there any corrections, comments, or otherwise a motion to move forward with? I'll make that motion. We have a motion on the table to approve the minutes of July 25th. Is there
Support.
And been moved and supported. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes of July 25th, 2022 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose the same. Moving into correspondence, we have a very nice letter from the Long Lake Improvement Association to entertain a motion to receive and file. We have a motion on the table to receive and file the correspondence from Trustee Lappin. It's been moved and supported. Further discussion?
I would like to comment that I absolutely love the letter. There's so much nice information in there about what they do with their money, other donations that they've received. I mean, they're always so good about giving us this every year, and I just think it's awesome.
Okay, so we have a motion and support. And if there's no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose the same. Correspondence has been filed. Old business, building department fees. Kevin, would you like to take the podium? And that way we can look at this old business item. If you want to just describe the process that started this and how you came to the conclusion.
When people are changing their windows out, they have to come get a permit. Well, for one window, we were charging $117 for the permit, when sometimes these windows don't even cost $100. So we're gonna amend how we're doing this to $50 a window, up to where it reaches the point of our standard fee starts at $117. If somebody's putting in 2 windows, well, it's $100 instead of 117, or one window, just to be more fair to the people of the township. That's how we came to this point.
Great.
And then we also, outside of just the building in terms of the windows, we also have increases in both the electrical and then the mechanical and plumbing.
Yep,
And those were increases, were they comparable to other municipalities?
yeah, he's raised up the cities, Montmorency's, they have a surcharge on fuel now to go out there and do their inspections, so.
So are there any questions for Kevin in terms of the proposed fee increases through building, electrical, mechanical and plumbing for permits?
When was the last time, on the building, on the window permit, that does make sense. But on the other ones, when was the last time we did that? Because it represents about a 17% increase.
I'm not sure on that, it was well before I came.
And we haven't since 2016 increased fees since we've been here.
Yeah, we did the building department
Not the-
last fall to bring it up to this area, and now the other inspectors that are employed by the township, you know, have felt the need, they need to bring their standards up to where it makes sense for them to do the job.
So the only changes to our building department as a whole to the permit, it was the addition of roofs were now permitted since 2016.
Yep.
Roofs were now added on a permitted, and then siding. I think that was the
Siding,
only,
windows, doors.
Siding as well. So if somebody had, for example, I had hail damage
Mhm.
in Prescott Township. There's no permit required, no building permit. It's just a replacement of the damage. So in Alpena Township, if there were a large hailstorm,
You need a permit.
that you'd have to get a permit.
Yep. Yeah, because that way you're supposed to, so once you open your building up, you now bring everything up to today's code, so you may not have had house wrap on that house, you may not have had your window tapes. You know, all that stuff gets included into this project. It's not just take a piece of siding off, put a piece of siding on.
All right, so if there was a damage to just one part of a garage,
If you're doing a whole side of a garage, you get a building permit. If you're taking one piece of siding off, we're not gonna make you get a building permit for a
but would I,
$8
on
piece.
that one side of my garage, if I, the garage is probably not a good example because it probably wouldn't have wrap on it.
Mhm.
But if there was this part of my house that I exposed and I found that there wasn't wrap, would I have to take all the
No.
siding?
No, that's just, all you're doing is repair at that point. If you're replacing the whole wall section,
Still requiring a permit though?
yeah,
Okay.
and I think your question was if that wall is exposed and found not to have tieback or any other, you would make them put up to today's
Yeah.
standards. The
On
tape,
just that wall?
yeah,
because that's
that's what you have open. Some people only change one wall, they'll take it off and do something different with it, they'll put stone on it or a different type of siding.
Mhm.
So at that point, you bring that section up to today's standards.
A good example would be, and as you know, like if there's damage on an insurance, on a homeowner's claim, it is to the only side that's damaged usually. It's, so we have a residence just south of here on 23 where somebody tried to make a drive-through. But that was exposed that front side. And so now they have to have it wrapped. And now, so this is concurrent with our surrounding municipalities as well. So that was one of our drives, is to kind of keep things consistent for our local contractors so that they don't have to look at two completely different sets of rules and regs.
I'll make a motion. We approve the recommended fee increases for building permits, electrical, mechanical and plumbing permits as presented.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Is there support?
Support.
Okay. Further discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just use either the electrical or the mechanical. So I would have an application fee.
Yeah.
Then it says additional inspection, and then it says final inspection. Are there 3 fees that I'm paying?
The additional inspections, if you gotta have another one. So some people get your application fee. In a new home, you'll have a rough-in on your meter. In your service, so that'll be an inspection. And then you'll have another, you may have to have 2 rough-ins if you can only do part of it and he's gotta wait till another section gets done. So those are all additional inspections that are added to the,
How many,
And those are all things that are assessed today.
oh yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah, I mean, if it be like you're building a house. And you can only do half your house. Cause you're living in it or whatever. So you do that half and then he comes back and does a rough on the other half. Well, that's 2 inspections. He's got to come 2 times. So that's an additional inspection.
Okay.
Or if it isn't done right,
Yeah, I can appreciate that one.
then he has to charge an additional inspection.
Yeah, I can appreciate those.
how, I guess maybe to kind of build upon what Steve's asking is there, with the application fee itself, is there inherently 1 inspection or 2 inspections? What is that threshold for that fee before there's an
Yeah,
additional fee?
that's his application fees. He looks at the plan of it, and sees how many circuits he has to do. 'Cause along with that electrical, you have circuits, water heaters, mini splits. There's 20 different things on there. Then you have your first inspection, which is usually your rough.
Mhm.
Then he comes back for your final. So you actually have 1 in there,
So there'd be basically 3 inspections,
2. You have your rough,
unless somebody had to come back.
yeah, unless he has to come back.
The only question I had on the motion was, part of this is fee reduction, right? Not just a fee
Yep.
increase. So maybe technically changes would be more appropriate in the language of the motion.
Well, we have discussion as to the language of the motion. Would the motion maker approve a friendly amendment to the original motion to not be
Change-
site specific
changes.
to increases, but changes to
Changes to the fee.
the
schedule.
proposed fee schedule
Yes.
Yes,
and to the support?
yes.
Okay. I have a friendly amendment to the original motion and to the support to change language from increases to changes. Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Flavich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Crawl.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Thank you very much. Moving forward into new business, first item of new business is of the late addition, which is just the approval of the noise hours of operation from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And this is for the 2022 permits for the antique tractor show, August 12th through 14th. Located at the corner of Naylor and Prentice Road, a 35-acre parcel. For the purposes of the 3 days event at this point. Yes.
Is there a request in here?
I actually have a letter.
Right.
It was just an email. This is an annual.
Okay.
So with these permits in terms of noise expansion, if you will, typically we have French Road Tractor Show. We have the Long Lake Lights Fest. Then we have usually tied in with the city fireworks show, courtyard usually asks for a permit for an extension of the time. So typically on an annual basis, we only have 3 of these.
That's good. So we got a letter.
Yep.
I assume there's not been any, especially here, it's pretty pretty out there. I can't imagine there's any people complaining about it.
I've never received a complaint.
I make a motion that we extend the permit time to the
1 a.m.
to the 1 a.m.
Support.
We have a motion and support to allow the extension of the noise for the antique tractor show. Any further discussion on this?
Was it to 1 a.m.?
To 1 a.m. Yes.
Okay.
Seeing no other discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose the same. We'll get this letter out to the representative yet today. Thank you very much. Moving forward with meeting times and schedule. Michelle?
I think Rusty brought it up at the last meeting.
I did, and-
discussion.
yeah.
We talked about changing the meeting time on Tuesday, then someone else suggested only having 1 meeting a month. I said I would talk to Tim to find out if we could do it. He said we can change our meeting schedule. We just have to do it by motion if we would like to do it.
We just need a motion and I'll make the motion. This was in response to Cash and I discussing his new duties, the sheriff's department, that daytime meetings are going to be more difficult for him. Daytime meetings are sometimes difficult for me.
Yeah.
Not like they used to be, but they are also. So I would either like to eliminate, and I guess what I'll do is make the motion, then we can amend it. But I'll make the motion that we eliminate our 2 meetings a month and eliminate the Tuesday Board of Trustees meeting with the chair to be able to call a special meeting when necessary.
You want to eliminate both meetings? That's what you said.
Yeah, let's
So
eliminate.
before you make that motion, would you like to
No, I
be
meant
your own
just-
friend and clean this up?
Just the daytime meeting on Tuesday.
So is that what your motion is, to eliminate the Tuesday meeting and just
Yeah.
have one meeting a month?
Yes.
I will support that.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Further discussion.
Thank you that you
To-
clarified for the
The
lawyer.
normal meeting would be still 6 P M.
6 PM, the fourth Monday
Fourth
of the
Monday.
month, with the ability as OMA stands, to call special meetings with 18 hours notice. Part of the discussion, I guess I'll add just for the discussion purposes of the reason that we went to 2 meetings a month was for an expansion of transparency and to afford our citizenry 2 different options, because obviously anybody that works till 5 o'clock can't attend an 11 AM. So we had kind of both of those grounds covered. So if that's the will of the board.
Well, that was exactly what I was gonna say. I thought the reason why we did this to begin with was so that it would give more people options to either Zoom in or to be here in person, or whatever the case may be.
Yes, trustee Polly.
And another reason, quite often sometimes conduct business and wait for 4 weeks before we had another meeting, but now if we have the fact of bringing in special meetings, we'll probably end up having 2 a month anyway, but it'll be able to pick at a time that's convenient for, I guess, the board. But so that's where we're at.
Yeah. And how dare you take a job under Sheriff Kroll and he's your primary duties, trustee member. If there's no other further discussion, roll call. Ms. O'Rourke. Is that, has that,
So the motion is to eliminate the Tuesday 11 AM meet
that,
and
and with afforded the ability
But
of the
you've always
supervisor,
had that.
always had that. So I would stick to
actually, isn't it any two
the
board members can call us?
can call outside the supervisor.
Okay, just want to make sure I have it clear for
Yeah.
trustee Lappin,
Yes,
clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes,
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly,
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
No. I've always wanted to do that. So
You-
I got. Took 5 years. Moving forward, we have a Alpena County Road Commission road agreement. And on the table, I also put an email correspondence from acting manager Ryan Brady in regards to the conditions of Kirchhoff Road and this project. Okay, wonderful. You actually did already
did
the
the numbers.
existing.
he's not, he's not the acting.
No,
manager.
he is,
a
I actually,
manager.
he is the
Yeah.
act, I misspoke, so I'll make a friendly,
Correction.
COVID fuzzy brain. He is the manager of the road commission. So before us, we have a road agreement for $12,586. Kirchhoff Road, serves an extremely low number, almost a non-existent residential population. It is a pass-through between Wessel Road and heading due east to Samp Road, which was utilized as a bypass when the county was expanding their hardened surface on Bloom Road. There is an active quarry, as you'll see in the memo from Mr. Brady. And the commercial activity is really what's breaking the road down. So we have a road agreement for what? 6,200 linear feet. So, yeah, go ahead.
My question is, when we approved all the other road agreements back in May, why wasn't this road brought up then?
This road, when I do my annual tour with Mr. Gania, wasn't even on the list. I cannot.
So it hasn't like deteriorated that much in 2 months or 3 months?
Obviously so, to the point of. it
Winter
needing-
plowing, by
all means,
plowing,
sorry.
I think, moves the gravel to the side, and they've attempted apparently from his letter to bring it back to the middle. But it didn't have enough gravel surface to hold it. But my problem here is, we didn't budget for this, did we? We didn't budget for this.
I do
Well,
have the
we-
budget numbers.
Yeah, and we actually, we have a fair amount remaining.
We budgeted 175,000 in highway, streets and bridges. We have committed over 30,000 for dust control, about 62,000 for the road agreements approved in May, which leaves us a balance of about 82,000 in that. GL.
So we do have it. The way I've always looked at roads in the township is how with such limited funds can we have the greatest impact to the greatest number of residents? This is one of those roads, like every other gravel road, they all need the attention. But does this have a direct correlation to a positive residential impact? Very limited, like I said. It is not a high frequented stretch of road other than the commercial activity, which is basically split between, I believe primarily Goodrich Asphalt uses what they mine out of, it's some smaller grain of gravel sand mix that I guess Goodrich uses primarily. But it is a road in our township nonetheless. So I look to the board. It's a tough pill to swallow to try to justify this in terms of my standards of impact, positive impact for the greater. But if we don't do something, the commercial activity itself will then probably start working its way onto Wessel Road, as it already has. And so where do you stop something from degrading?
Well, my concern is if we don't do anything, could we have a really bad accident? Or something bad happen on this road if it's not fixed?
I would recommend that every trustee go drive this road and make a determination for themselves, because if you don't know where it's at, if you don't know,
So,
you don't know.
so if I turn on Bloom Road,
Okay.
and if I go down Bloom Road to Wessel and take a left,
No, if you go down Bloom, if your entry point off at 23 is Bloom,
right?
what you'll do is go all the way to Samp Road,
All right,
which is approximately 500 yards from the end of the asphalt.
right.
If you head north on Samp then has, after approximately 2.5 miles, has a 90-degree apex
Right.
heading back to the west.
Right.
At that apex becomes Kirchhoff Road.
Isn't it mostly sand though?
It's a pretty sandy agricultural area. Its connection points are Anderson Road, which its bridge is near Failing Point, which then is the intermittent link between Kirchhoff Road and Monahan Point Road.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, okay, I was just trying to visualize it, because I'm like, I've been down that road, it seems like it was more sand than it was gravel.
and and it's been there for a long time. So, and that's where do you start? Where do you stop? I also agree. If you don't fix roads, the higher probability of vehicle accidents is increased. But at the traffic rate that road does, it's minimal at best. So I leave it to the board.
I make a motion.
Okay, we have a-
if I may, to table this until the next regular or scheduled meeting. And offer the citizens and anyone from the road commission that would like to attend to present to us yea or nay on this. I'm right now, I will tell you, that's my motion. Right now, I'll tell you that my thinking is that I'm not in favor of it. But I give people an opportunity.
Give an
perhaps.
opportunity. We have a motion on the table, to table, this business item. Is there support? to table? Oh. Trustee Foley. Quick draw McGraw got the support on the table. Any further discussion on this matter? Seeing none, we'll come back to it and have further discussion then.
Do we voice?
We vote on
Yeah,
it.
we'll just, all those in favor of tabling to the subsequent meeting, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Item has been tabled. Moving forward, we have two different quotes and kind of two different avenues for asphalt sealer, crack filler, paint striping, parking lots, etc. In your packet, you have one quote, which unfortunately, the Goodriches did not provide additional quotes for the remaining addresses, but they did provide quotes for both the M32 and 23 South bike path. And it would be, and then we also have a second one. And to fill this whole scope out, I actually reached out to, and actually five, when Kevin Pauly reached out to yet another small company. We reached out to Prime Results, Brian's, Bruce Goodrich, just about everybody that has a yard sign and or an established business. Yeah, the one at
I
the
have
corner.
North, he's never called me back.
I had two people that have not called me back. And then we have Prime Results that have already done the walkway actually at the intersection of Third and Hobbs, heading west from that intersection to approximately 200 yards. And their quotes were comprehensive, included all of our physical locations plus the bike paths. But if we could just for a second, put side by side, apples and apples for bypath and bypath. Which,
Couldn't figure out which one was which.
so if you look at, obviously the Goodrich one is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
If you look at on the Prime Results in kind of the middle of the page on the left-hand side, it will actually put a physical location. Yeah, so you have the $10,151 that will actually correspond to M32 from Bagley to Highland Court bike path. You want my hard copy? Yeah. So it corresponds.
3,000.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes, by all means.
I guess I didn't realize, so we're not talking about just doing like our parking lots. We're actually talking about doing the road. Right?
No.
The bike,
Bike path.
No, but when you said M32 with, okay, that's the bike path out 32. Okay, and then Thunder Bay Avenue, okay, that's another bike path, gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, fire station,
23 South is from
Okay.
Thunder Bay Avenue at the municipal line, all the way to
Okay.
Island Drive,
all right, that makes much more sense.
at Farrell Gas.
Okay.
Across the street from Joseph Road. So it would be in terms of just the apples to apples, in terms of bike path to bike path. It would be my recommendation for bike paths to move forward with Goodrich Asphalt. And we actually have enough, do you have your budget?
Oh, my budget?
We actually have enough in bike path maintenance, even with the cost of $300 a bench to move forward with both of these projects with Goodrich. We have that GL funded at $15,000. Each bench is approximately $300 to have sandblasted, refurbished and reestablished. And the combined total for Bruce Goodrich on both bike paths is we're at $13,350. Whereas the comparable with Prime Results puts us approximately 9180 plus the 10,000, so we're at 19,000, so almost $6,000 higher for both bike paths. So it'd be my recommendation. And I would like to look at these as two individual motions since they're two different. We have the GL and it is funded
I
at
couldn't
15.
find it.
It's in a weird spot with the bike path maintenance is how it's listed. 7 or 15,000. So, yeah, 265,930 is the principals on the GL. 000-930-000 out of Department 265, which is building and grounds. We have that GL funded at $15,000. It would be my recommendation to, like, as I aforementioned, to move forward with the Everett Goodrich quote for both of those bypass, which it has been almost a decade since 23 South has been sealed and M32 has never been sealed. So if we want to keep them, let's cover them and seal them. So that would be, and in terms of this that would be, I'd entertain a motion that would look towards that recommendation of.
I would make that motion as to the bike paths.
We have a motion on the table to move forward with the recommendation of utilization of Everett Goodrich for bike path seal coating at the cost of $13,300 and $350.00 to come out of GL 101-265-930-000. Is there a support to that motion?
I'll
Support.
support it.
Michelle.
I heard the tone. She's got it. So we have a motion. Yes, Laura.
You mentioned during this topic, the benches. The benches is not included in this. at
No,
all.
no,
So are we discussing benches at some point in time or not?
they're
right
all
now?
separate. So the next item will be the remainder of the business in our packet. The benches are at $300. And that's already in process. There's one currently, one's been reestablished, a new one was reestablished with minimal work to finalize. And the bench that was pulled has been dropped off at Plowman's, which we have an agreement that that cost is $300 a bench. And it occurs at such a pace that it's
And
a
how-
one at a time.
How many benches do we have?
I'd have to grab my notes. I want to say that we have 12 and we already have 3 that were done.
So we won't have enough money.
We may not, but at the rate that these are being accomplished, some of which of those benches may be in next fiscal.
Oh,
So, okay, so I know there's two parts to this because I did see an invoice from F&B that they go and pick up the bench and take it to Plowman's and bring it back and all of that. And then, so that's one price. And then is Plowman's also in addition to that?
So
charging?
that was, yes. So that was,
So
I saw
how-
that as well.
I guess how much is it?
Well, moving forward, we may look at it differently, but at the time, we actually have a motion and support to one item. And this isn't kind of we can come back to answer
That's
your
fine.
questions.
I just
but
did
if
have some
they're kinda-
questions about the benches.
They're in the same ballpark, but yet two different subjects. So we do have a motion on the first item of bike pass to move forward. Any other discussion on the seal coating on the bike path? Roll call, please.
Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes,
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Second part of the seal coating are all the physical structures. Now we're on our 3rd year of our parking lot that was redone here. And from my visual inspection, it should be a consideration to have redone. Now, this is all encompassing. So we have, excuse me. The remaining bids from Prime are what we're looking at this point in time, which would be 3 estimates. We have and there are no codes on them, but the Alpena Township Hall, which is at $46.48. We have the fire hall, which is at $1,740. So that these two would encompass all the asphalt at this location. The remainder was the $702 estimate, and that was for the Southside Fire Department.
Is that the only bids we have for those projects?
We never got any more.
So there,
But we
I
tried.
guess I'm.
We looked out to 5 different businesses, Russ.
And
then
that's
it
what
was-
I'm wondering, did Goodrich, since he bid on the other, did he just miss it or did?
We've called, it was tabled. We're here today, still don't have any other estimates. So. Yes,
I'm sorry, could you explain it one more time? Because the one for 4,648 says Alpena Township Hall 2385 US 23 North. Actually, that's 4385, so that's here. And then the other one says, the fire hall, so they're bidding the office side and then
he
another
did,
bid for.
when I
fire
saw
side?
him, he had taken off before I was able to, because he didn't know that I
Okay.
wanted all of the asphalt. So he
Okay.
measured this side and I said, you can turn your truck right around because we have more at the next driveway.
Okay, gotcha, thank you.
That goes around the back and.
It stops at the back of the building. On our eastern front at the building itself is a hard stop of asphalt. It is a gravel surface. all the way back around until you get to the driveway coming out of the east bay door on the fire department, which then loops around to 23. So,
I do have one more question.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. And for our side over here, it says handicap signs. We have handicap, just do we
they
need
paint them
them?
on the asphalt.
Oh, on the, gotcha, thank
You
you.
have to do that by law.
Okay. Gotcha, I thought they were the other
No,
ones.
that's ADA compliance.
Okay.
We already have some.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to make sure we weren't doing both of them.
Yes. So it'd be my recommendation, we can look at this any which way, but the last time that we did the facilities here, we did not do the asphalt at either the fire department or south side, which are also both in need. I don't know the last time that either of those hardened surfaces were sealed. And honestly, outside of what we did here 3 years ago, I don't know the last time that parking lot was done either. So these are just mechanisms to keep what we have instead of continuously degrading. So this would be my recommendation to move forward with prime results for the remaining 3 estimates. Now, we could look at it several different ways. We do have, can I steal yours?
Yes, you can.
Thank you very much. Guess it's not stealing if I ask. We do have, let me get back over to. Was I on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on it. Okay. We do have ample money in the maintenance and the repair of building, GL, to cover the grand total of, let me actually, I wish you would have compiled this.
You want the total of those?
Yeah, the $7,090. It would be my recommendation to move forward, to have all 3 surfaces sealed and repainted, at least where we have known parking locations. To the tune of $7,090 to be coming out of GL 101-265-931-000.
Just one other question.
Yes,
What is the 702 for? It says sealer.
702 was for the South Side Fire Department.
Oh,
He had he said, I know he called me after I kind of threw a wrench in his gears having him come back. He forgot in the original to add the Southside Fire Department, so. Part of this was if we actually looked at one principal motion to move forward with prime, he would have actually waived the 702 if we did every other project with him. Obviously, looking at the other quote, we made the decision rightfully so. So this would be a cost onto us. Yeah, like I said, $7,090, but actually, and I misspoke because it would actually be the best GL would be instead of 931, it would be 932, which is ground maintenance and repair. And not maintenance and repair bill. So I apologize for my misrepresentation of the GL, but it would be 932 as my recommendation to move forward. So I give it to the board to make the decision.
Ground maintenance and repair.
We have
We don't-
$7,500.
We only have available $5,252.95.
Let's leave it at 931.
It really should come out. of
It
ground
should
maintenance.
come out of. ground
So I guess that
We do
could
a
be part of
budget
the motion is
To do a budget.
an associated adjustment because it does 932 is the appropriate GL to do. So part of this motion then would be an amendment from 931 with the remainder 2000. Just shy of 2000.
Well, I would go a little more because we use that to pay the lawn.
Okay, yeah, they did the work.
Yeah.
We did have all new mulch put in, which actually makes the grounds look a lot better and cleaner. Yes,
I'd like to say one thing about the grounds. This is the nicest the grounds have looked in a long time. This building looks pretty sharp compared to what it used to.
And he's not done yet. He has one more little project to do.
Well, I mean, it's nice to pull in here and see that there's flowers and there's things going on.
It
that we
does
didn't
look
have
nice.
before. So tip
It
my
does
hat to
look nice.
whoever and however, it's looking a lot better. Thanks.
I think it's been a group effort.
Mhm,
to get it.
Well, thank you.
mhm. I've been
So-
sweating
so-
my butt off out there.
Well,
Just kidding.
grounds and maintenance manager hasn't gotten on the rider in quite a while, so you know.
So how much do we want to take?
Well, we can do it in two different, so then maybe let's do a motion to move forward with, if so, then we can do a second motion to do an amendment, or do you want them to do in the same motion?
It doesn't matter. I mean,
Okay, let's do it in the same motion, because then it's, we're not adding anything to the, so I would, what we have out of 931, what do we need to cover the $7,090 as a remainder?
And leave money in.
but we still probably.
We'll
to
need
put-
it.
I would take like 4,000.
Okay. So part of the motion would be a reduction of 101-265-931-000. Debit 4,000, credit 4,000 to 101-265-932-000.
I would support that motion or make that motion.
Okay, and then part of, so we have, as part of that motion, are you in support of moving forward with the seal coating as presented? Or do you want to do it in two separate motions, sir?
No, I
Just
don't,
one.
you need just one motion, yeah, the seal coating.
Do you want the seal coating and the budget adjustment in one motion, or? do you
Oh,
want-
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I just want to make sure
Makes
that
sense to
we're
me.
all on the same page.
Approve the bid and.
Okay. So we have a motion on the table to approve the estimate and also the budget adjustment from the GLs formerly mentioned. Is there support?
I'll support.
Is motion and support? Further discussion?
My concern is that there's such a significant difference between Goodrich and Prime on the two that we approved, that I can't help but wonder if this is overpriced as well, and if we shouldn't more likely table this thing until we can get more input, but
And I
My
also thought the
thoughts.
same thing. And then the tiebreaker was, what is the timeline?
yeah.
And the timeline was why it's my recommendation. to move forward, Right?
We had one that's been a decade. I don't imagine, 6 months. It may have
Yeah.
a big difference.
So we have a motion. Is there support? And yes,
I
we have
support
support.
that.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly,
Yes.
trustee Lappin,
No,
clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward is not an action item. I just wanted to give a tip of the hat to something that I've been working with Huron Pines with, and that is what is called the Lake Huron Forever Pledge. So in your packet, you actually see an example from the only community in the state thus far that has moved forward with this pledge, and that is the city of Auburn. And so it's not that we're identical. This is just an example. This is kind of encompassing to a lot of different projects that I spoke to the planning commission about. One being the shoreline CLA, I believe is the name of the little group. But this deals with, we as a municipality, we have more shoreline and more water than a lot of other municipalities. And how do we need to look at it? This pledge also affords us as a municipality additional financial leverage to other grants that would not be afforded to us otherwise, especially with the billion dollar federal bill that just passed out, came out of Senate this past week. So this just poises us to actually find more expedient financial allocations rather than always going to grants, because as a having taken this pledge, the doors have been. But then it's not only just a financial thing, it's what do we want to do in terms of zoning as the planning commission gets ready here in this next fiscal to really look back at our rec plan and our master plan. And what areas are sensitive? What are our needs? What are our concerns? And how do we have to look at those as we move forward and continue to grow? Yes, trustee Paul.
That also ties in with our capital improvement plan. Totally.
Yeah, this is an all-serving function. It leaves us in a position of being proper stewards, giving the individuals in the planning commission some direction when they get ready for the master plan and the planning commission. We also have, I invited several members of the planning commission who will be starting the process, as I mentioned earlier, of redoing our rec plan and our master in 2023. The ability to attend a 2-day conference for free, of which I believe I have 4 members of the planning commission that are already going to be in attendance for these 2 days. So we'll give them the opportunity to see what that process looks like, since we have a lot of newer members on planning commission. Yes, look,
Is there a cost to this?
no,
Okay, so we would,
Liability.
leave it to a lawyer to always look at doing something proper for the environment. Is there a liability?
I would want to vote on it. I would like it referred to Tim for review. of any
We're
other-
not voting on any, this is
Yeah.
just an introduction. This is a process that will be ongoing.
okay.
So there will be some workshops, and members of this board will most definitely, I could probably have Samantha Nellis do a presentation. I did forward the email to I think all the trustees. If not, I apologize. There's a slideshow presentation. There's some data that kind of support what it's all about.
I'd
but
like to see.
if
that.
the
I
board
think
would
it'd
like
be
to
nice.
we could do it 2 different ways. We could look at it as a joint meeting with the planning commission, or we could just have a presentation at one of our meetings, and because they're going to start having these discussions and looking at the overlay of our current rec and master plan. What are our identified sensitivity areas? How can we improve our nature preserve? There's a lot of partnerships that will stem from this. Part of the shareholder email that I sent out in regards to this potential is Jeff Gray with NOAA. Both David Rabideau and Dr. McMasters from both of our principal educational institutions. Patrick Haggerty with Community Foundation. So I'm trying to get everybody together, because this isn't just beneficial to us, it's beneficial to all. Anybody that uses it, how we can look at things and improve as we move forward. Because if we don't start making proper implementation of infrastructure and planning now, we'll end up being like other city communities, maybe on the west side. They have no infrastructure and have no direction. So let's find a sound direction as we move forward. And this is a positive step. So there, like I had mentioned, there is no, I'll look at trustees and everybody after the meeting to see what their thoughts are as to how everybody would like to proceed, whether it's an individual presentation, a joint meeting.
I would just give you my opinion right now. I think a joint meeting would be great, have planning commission and us at the same time and do a presentation.
Okay, well,
So let me understand something.
yes,
This is what we're looking at is really nothing more than a pledge.
yes.
And so we obviously have to reword this because they're,
Yeah, this is just an
but
example.
so currently, if somebody wanted to do some lakeshore building or modifications or whatever it might be, the planning commission, I would hope, would, in whatever motion that they would make to either approve, or let's say they're moving forward with on this, that all appropriate jurisdictions have to be on board, like Eagle and so on. I can think of like the channels or any of the shoreline along here, that if somebody wanted to put up a break wall, for example, you can't just do it.
You know a little something about break
I
walls,
know a
don't
lot
you?
And
So,
and
yeah, and you hit that right on. So these are partnerships, and these are derives of Eagle for communities to move forward in this direction. Because this affords yet another layer.
No, I totally get it. And so to Russ's comment of liability, if we are doing these things without the input or stamp of approval of the appropriate jurisdictions, then yeah, we're gonna put ourselves in legal hot water potentially.
Yeah.
Not only from the applicant, but any adjoining properties. And so I would recommend that we be cautious about these sorts of things. But again, this is nothing more than a pledge.
It's a pledge, and it's just
Yeah.
best practices.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not adhered to it. It's just, here's an opportunity to be educated on the topic. And maybe that educational component will actually make you think of things a little differently, rather than just putting riprap in. Maybe you implement a green belt, maybe, which is in our zoning, which I don't think anybody sees it, but it is there. So yeah, this is just a pledge. This is best practices and already supported by Eagle and Army Corps because they deal with it at the end result. If we can actually put a foot in the door and maybe hit it at its headwaters,
Mhm.
then everybody, the reciprocals are
Certainly on inland waterways, the township. I don't think has any input at all. And
other than our current zoning in terms of our
Yeah,
setbacks from
setbacks,
ordinary,
other than
ordinary
that.
high water mark,
Yep, yep.
25 foot waterfront residential,
And I think on coastal waters,
same thing.
same thing, except. I don't know if Eagle's involved or if it's,
Anytime you're within 300 yards of Lake Huron, Army Corps of Engineers, anytime that there's anything, it's Eagle. Let's throw them into the everything pile. Yeah, so they are, but let's, we can continue to expand. I don't want to eat up the rest. We have a pretty lengthy agenda, but I will move forward with maybe setting forth a joint meeting, of which would probably be calling a special meeting. So we'll go forward from there. So next item of business is the Dixon Engineering, the recommendation for award. Obviously, you have it with you in the packet. We've received all of the bids back from the RFP that our initial allotment from Dixon Engineering provided. We have a recommendation from them in terms of the 500,000 gallon spheroid petasphere water tank for the repainting project. And it is their recommendation to move forward, as you see, with FEDOA for the reasons listed. And it was also my recommendation to approve that bid as well. So Ms. Nguyen, do you have anything to add to the Dixon Engineering report?
Nothing to add, but just to, explain a little bit more. So the M32 tower, which is the one that we had an emergency leak repaired earlier this year. This was inspected. A recommendation was made from Dixon in regard to the scope of services to repair as well as recoat the tower, making sure that it complies with 10 state standards. Bids were sought from pre-qualified bidders. And the bid opening was performed here. And Dixon analyzed the bids before making a recommendation for notice of award. Just as a point of clarification, the proposed bidder would be performing this next spring. This would not happen this year, would probably happen in the next fiscal year, which would be next, April, May, in regard to that. So as far as funding, that gives the township a little bit longer to determine what kind of source of funding they're going to utilize and maybe have some more information in regards to federal funding sources.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Nguyen in terms of?
that 286,000 plus would stay the same, even though it's gonna start in the spring.
Yes, that's their firm bid for next spring.
All right,
And this project would be painting and then also logo.
Yeah.
this
they'll have-
isn't the repair then.
The
It
repair
is-
has already been taken, that already took.
Well, the emergency repair was taken care of, but there are repairs included in the bid.
Yeah.
To address other deficiencies, as far as things that have gotten some corrosion that need to be addressed. There's some minor parts of welding, and if there are any other interior structural steel issues, those are all detailed in the specifications from Dixon. So if you were to look at the detailed bids, there's a line item breakdown in regard to the amount that is painting versus those other repairs.
Okay, thank you.
So at this point in time, if there's no other questions for Ms. Nguyen, I guess it would be my.
I have a comment, but no, I appreciated Dixon's justification for accepting the bid that was what we're have on the table. I think that justification helps us a great deal. And so I'm willing to go forward with the motion.
Okay, sir, we have a motion on the table to approve the recommendation from Dixon Engineering to utilize FEDOA Incorporated for the project of the 500,000 gallon petasphere located on M32. at the
And we
cost of.
understand that this may be in this or next fiscal year, but we have.
And part of that was a discussionary topic of allocation of funds. Thus far, it's always been, from my position, known to be utilization of ARPA money for this project. I guess that could be a continuation of a discussion as we move forward. But I guess I look to your motion.
Yeah, that. We can put that in the motion if you think that best now, but maybe we want to wait until we see
Yeah,
what
I would-
happens between now
we
and the
have time.
spring. So I just make the motion to accept the recommendation of Dixon.
And that would suffice in terms of just accepting it by motion. We have a motion on the table to move forward with the recommendation. And we have support by trustee Lappin for
I have a question.
all further discussion.
Okay. I guess maybe not a question, a comment. I would prefer to stipulate the ARPA funds for this. Because we're approving it. I want to know where the money's coming from. And I think we need to stipulate because it's not going to be in our,
So to the motion,
Better
would you be,
Mhm.
Well, yeah, we can either do it when we do the budget or we can do it now, so.
let's just do it now. If you would be willing to make a
I make-
friendly amendment to
Yeah.
specify utilization of ARPA monies for this allocation. And then to the supporter, are you
Yes.
supporting
Yep.
that friendly amendment?
Steve's.
With that being said, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
trustee Reiner,
Yes,
trustee Polly. Yes. Trustee Lappin.
Yes,
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes,
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes.
So just I'll update my ARPA spreadsheet and
Yeah.
give everybody a copy of it to know where we are with the ARPA funds.
Yeah, that is nice. Moving forward, item number 7 is fire department biocare invoice. We have a recommendation of this expenditure coming out of 205-336-963-000 to the cost of $4,050. Anything else to add? Other than this is a driven mechanism by the union contract. And this biocare satisfied that union contract.
I'll make the motion. They BioCare.
We have a motion on the table to move forward with payment of biocare to the GL that was formerly mentioned. Is there support? Trustee Lappin on support. Moving forward to utilize 205-336-963-000 at the cost of $4,050. Further discussion? Yes, Laura.
is this the vehicle that goes around and does physicals instead of our?
Right, they come in a big
Employees.
van.
Okay,
They're Very
Thank you.
professional, very well ran.
Just to add to using BioCare, what we're saved us, what we usually pay for one physical, paid for all.
nice.
the only question I wondered, help me to understand on the respiratory health questionnaire, the pulmonary function test and the tuberculosis screening. Why is it 15, 15 and 20?
Because we had full-time staff has to have all of it.
Oh, and
Paid on call
Yeah,
doesn't
okay.
have to have all of it.
Got
So
it.
those are the number different.
okay, got it. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this topic? Roll call please.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes,
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes,
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
yes,
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward with the next item, which is a task force tips fire nozzles.
It's my recommendation. We had task force tips demonstration come into our area to do training. We have some current nozzles that are marginal at best and a safety issue with them. I've probably shown a couple of this township board members those that were purchased. Oh, probably 5-6 years ago. They're not a traditional nozzle. So we're having some safety issues with that. And we want to replace the main nozzles on our both trucks with the task force tips for the amount of $3,139.80 out of GL 205-336-974-000 equipment. And I had budgeted for that in my budget for this year.
We have a recommendation that's been presented by Chief Hansen to move forward with the expenditure for 4.5-inch smooth bore fire nozzles to be utilized out of 536-97400 at the cost of $3,139.80. Is there a motion to that effect? Or do you have a comment or a question?
What would you prefer to do first?
If you would have this, we can, before we have a motion, if you. would like to.
The question I have is, I guess, and maybe, and I just don't understand it all, so if you could explain it to me, but I thought we had just bought like 2 new nozzles.
Monitor now.
Those are monitored for the top of the truck. These are actually hand lines that they'll use for interior.
So here's your hose and you put the nozzle on it and then this goes on top of that, the nozzle.
So no, it's just the nozzle, attached to the end of your hand lines that they use for putting out car fires, house fires. That's the most used appliance that we have in the fleet.
So what we have currently is just worn out or,
Well, they purchased some nozzles a few years back that were having a safety issue as we've had mutual aid with different departments. A common nozzle has a bail on it. You push the nozzle, the bail forward, it shuts off. You pull it back, the water turns on, okay?
Mhm.
These don't do that. They have to be turned by hand. So we're having mutual aiding departments with us. They go to grab our nozzles. They think they're gonna get the water to shut off by pushing the bail forward, and it's not. People are having trouble on ladders with them. They were sold to the last group that was here. They're not a safe nozzle for our clients. We've removed 2 of them from one of the trucks already. The other 2 will be removed as soon as I get the approval to take these safety issues out of our fleet.
Can you, both of those had shipping to be determined, so whatever motion we make, we have to sort of bump it up a little bit.
Right.
Any idea on the shipping?
I have no idea. I'm
It
thought,
can't be very heavy.
well, I'm thinking just an envelope costs me $20 to get shipping on.
yeah, they're probably very heavy.
They're probably somewhere between 3-5 pounds a piece.
Right. I'm gonna estimate between $30 and $50 for shipping. That's,
Yeah, I'd probably, probably
you know,
somewhere.
some things they send them, you get an envelope with this gaskets in it, that's $20. So I can't understand the shipping.
I'll
at all.
make the
You know.
motion, and we go ahead with it to include shipping.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table by trustee Kroll to approve the recommendation of $3,139.80 to utilize GL 205-336-974-000.
Support.
We have support on the motion. Any further discussion?
Guess I have more of a comment. I guess we can wait till after. I'll make my.
We should, in your motion, did you include shipping?
Yes,
I
Okay, I'm
did.
sorry.
No.
Further discussion? Yeah. Roll call, please.
Trustee Lappin,
Yes.
clerk Flavich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
trustee Reiner,
Yes.
trustee Polly.
Yes.
Yes.
I just have a question for you, chief. Like on the inventory, are we getting close? 'Cause it seems
Yes.
like we're constantly like, we need this $3,000, we need that $4,000. I guess I'd like to see that we have the inventory done and to steal a phrase from Norm, what's the plan? Kind of a priority of what we need.
We are getting very close on inventory.
So after that, we'll get a plan of what we need and
Right.
what's priority, what's not.
Right, and these are items that I've known about and budgeted for. Since I budgeted for them, I will tell you, they've gone up in price 18%. So, equipment is just going up craziness for fire equipment right now. So the longer we wait, the higher the price is gonna be.
I would just like to comment too. I mean, I do agree, if we did have our inventory, I know we've been talking about it, but just so we know what we have, and I know the guys have been working on it, but do you anticipate how much longer it might be before?
Well, if I can keep a full staff here, if somebody doesn't get sick, because one of the guys that was in the process of taking care of that was off for some time. So we're still shorthanded.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving forward. Thank you very much, chief. Fire department discussion. Trustee Lappin.
So we know that the millage request didn't pass. And then I asked Michelle if she would provide me with some information on the sort of precinct by precinct results. And then I also asked to just remind myself where the various precincts were. And so as I looked at the results of the millage, it was pretty close. And that gave me that gave me some momentum that tells me that with a little bit more marketing, a little bit more understanding, that this could have passed. And so I know that we have to look at this thing into the future. And to my way of thinking, because of all the work that we've put into this, and because of the,
Truncated timeline.
well, yeah, we certainly had a very short timeline. Several of the firemen and persons, as well as some citizens at large, quite literally walked door to door. And when you look at, for example, precinct 2, which is where there was a concentration of effort, the message was received. And so I'm concerned that if we just do nothing, that the trickle effect of that decision into the future could be really pretty catastrophic to the township of Alpena. And so I'm a firm believer that we continue to make that request in November with exactly the same language. But I'm also concerned that the road millage hampered things, and clearly by the results, there was less interest in roads than there were fire. And so I would like to see us, and I guess if we need to make this in the form of a motion, I would do so, but
Right now, we're just having it, so I mean, I think I know.
we need to move fast.
We do need
we
to
have
move
a-
fast.
we have an
We have
August-
August 16th
Right,
is the due date to
Right.
get to the count.
right. So the only option we have is to do something now or to do something in the very near future.
But I don't disagree. We have two different topics, two different
Right.
millages that are, obviously, part of our earlier business was where do we and how do we fund these things? So I think it would be my position. Since part of this email was bring your calendars, that we call our first special meeting, or if we want to call it a workshop and continue these discussions,
Can
because
we, in a workshop, can we
we
make a
can't have
motion?
any motions in a workshop. Yeah, Michelle.
I would like, I'm agreeing with Steve that we need to put the fire back on in November. I have no problem with us voting on it today and not needing to call at the expense of a special meeting. If there's enough of us who want to do that, I think we should just move ahead with it.
So,
I completely agree. And so.
but it's part of your
if I-
motion
If I
that,
continue this, my discussion,
Okay.
and if we look at not what happens today, but what happens 2 or 3 years down the road, makes for some pretty uncomfortable positions for any number of things that can trickle as a result of that. I do believe that with a little bit more education, because of the timelines, our town hall meetings were not as successful as we would have liked. But the door-to-door campaign was certainly more successful. So, and I'm certainly willing to talk about this at any other at any other point, but in the interest of time, I would like to make a motion that we put the fire millage language back on the November ballot as we had it on the August primary ballot.
we have a motion on the table to use identical language moving forward with the November ballot, turn-in date of 16th
August 16th.
to the county clerk. There's support to that motion.
I'll support it.
It's been moved and supported. Further discussion? So I guess if, by all means, Laura.
My further discussion would be, and maybe we need another motion, is to take the fire or the road millage off in the November, for the November
But right
ballot.
now, we're just voting on.
Right,
fire.
right. So that's what I said. Maybe it's a different motion.
It would
To
be
do that.
two complete, yeah.
So-
I'll send an orange.
So I guess then I'm done, but
In terms of additional discussion.
Yep.
If we choose to not do this, then I think we should anticipate, for all practical purposes, having a volunteer fire department service 120 square miles of land with 10,000 residents. That is an unpalatable situation, and I think that the financial consequences to a significant portion of our residents would be impacted. And so, plus, if we chose not to do this, I think we could anticipate some fallout of staff immediately. If I were an employee, if I knew that my bosses didn't support me, I'd have to go, because I wouldn't feel as though I was valued.
Well, I think we have, and so we have a motion in support on putting the fire millage right back to the people. My discussion is, and part of me, I've been thinking about it since the third is, did one defeat the other? You could have a million different variables of argument in terms of the millages that we requested. I would voice my concern with complete removal of the road millage. Maybe we can look at that and have a reduction, but I guess I looked at the board too. Because we have a greater need than just, so that's
Well, if I look
that's
at,
always the problem. How we have 50 years of compiled issues that we're trying to resolve. And now were we too aggressive on A or B, and did A affect B?
Yeah,
They're equal
likely.
concerns.
so to answer your question,
excuse me,
Oh, I'm
I just
sorry.
wanted to, but when I brought up the road millage, I was kind of like cut off because it was a separate subject and we have a motion on the table.
We have, which went
I'm just
right
saying.
back to his statement that was in it. So it's, yeah, they would be completely two
That's what I
different
mean,
motions.
right.
We're at that point because part of this is part of that conversation. So
Yeah.
what does it look like? I don't think we have such a short timeline. It's already a motion and support soon to be voted upon, but are we hampering? I don't know what it looks like. I look to the board because this is one of the variables of what these discussions are going to be moving forward, is getting this back on the ballot.
Right.
We need to concurrently have discussions and talk about all options. That's all I've been stressing. I think I said on the table more than once recently. And so we can move forward because we don't have time
Right.
to really go through the process again. I get that and understand
I-
it. But I think we need to have a lot more discussion because throwing money at this isn't going to be the be all say all. We have to look at this expansively and say, what is our mission moving forward?
Yeah.
And these are going to be non-committee meetings and discussions. I want to have this as an entire board because we need to really, this is a massive priority. And so how do we cross every T and dot every I? I want to look and I have to be part of all of it.
Yeah.
And so how do we, obviously, first things first, let's get a piece of paper to the county. But putting all of our eggs in a basket again isn't always the best way. So let's start having the discussions of here's options A through G, whatever it is. And it's not a disrespectful thing. It is a fact that we have to have these discussions and look at the mission.
Mr. Foley had it.
You know, all of a sudden, we're getting forced to, when is it, August 16th, we have to have in for.
We have to have it into the
for
county
December.
clerk 16th to be on the
So
November.
today is the 9th.
Yeah, a week away.
I would still like to see before we make this vote that we have a special board meeting within a couple of days or 3 days, but today's Tuesday, maybe this week or the very first part of next week, that gives us a chance to think about this. Because all of a sudden we're thrown with one item that I think we need to put some real discussion into this. And let's hear what is there. I'm feeling like I'm being pushed to make a decision because of time. And that time decision was forced as we went down the road going way back. So I think this board needs some time to think about this, maybe a day or two, and well, then let's decide what you want to do. I think our big thing is, do we want to do this because of the 16th? That puts a big crimp. That's only my 2 cents. Michelle.
My comment is, I feel like I've been thinking about this for over a year. I don't feel like I need any more days. I've been thinking about the fire department practically from day one of coming on the board. And I don't think 2 days is gonna change my opinion.
Yes, Laura.
I totally agree with Michelle. I was gonna say the same thing. I mean, even just because the election just happened and now we have a deadline to get it on the ballot, I think the thought is always there. What if it passes? What if it doesn't pass? What's our next step? Even with our whole board and not just this topic, I think we're always trying to think the what ifs and what do we do? And so I'm perfectly fine.
Well, I mean, we have we do have a timeline and it's inevitable. It is what it is. And so I'm not opposed. I mean, but Russ.
I am, because it takes all the other options that we might have off the table until after November. Right now, this is my understanding. You can correct me factually if I'm wrong in any of this part. But we had an opportunity before to provide fire services. You know, this whole campaign for the millage was based on a safer township. But what I heard when I went to the one presentation that was made at the Southside Fire Station was a couple of things that I thought were incorrect. And I thought that, like I do with a lot of federal legislation, the names are often misrepresentative of what the thing is intended for. But like Build Back Better and whatever. But the point is this, that we had an opportunity at one point, don't know if we have it anymore, but I sure like to explore it now. We had an opportunity for about 1/3 of the cost to have 2 people in each of our stations instead of one. At least one of whom would have been a paramedic, and the response times would have been as good as we have now, especially overnight when people are in the stations. Right now, I believe that we've lost at least one of the recruits we've gained since the chief has been here in recruiting, maybe 2. And our paid on call, I think might be holding, but I'm not sure. But I think also, and I heard one thing, Steve, that meeting that I thought was incorrect, but I thought it was a red herring anyway, was that we would still have the cost, and that's true under the contract, we would have had the cost of insuring our stations. Well, this one's no brainer, it's part of this building, but to me, that's not a big cost comparatively. And a tenant in a commercial lease does have an insurable interest, I believe. So it was said that they don't, but to me, that was a minor point. So I believe that, as I said before, when we talked about this and the if dog rabbit thing came up about sending it to the November election, I said at that time, and I still believe it, all you do is make people angry that you put it back in front of them. And I think our results will be the same and possibly worse than they were this time. So that's where I'm at with this. I think if we don't have options, don't explore options between now and November, I think we're putting ourselves, our department, our staff, our fire staff in a worse position than right now, at least as bad a position. So
So a couple of things. At each of those town hall meetings, I'm confident that I made it really clear that we have to continue to have discussions about what a fire department looks like. Whether it looks like a standalone operation, whether it looks like an authority, whether it looks like volunteer, whatever it might look like. I've said all along that I thought that if we couldn't have our own fire department, that the prudent thing to have would be to have an authority that would operate multiple jurisdictions, not one person controlling multiple jurisdictions, but a board that would operate independent of all of those member jurisdictions. And so still think that's a very viable option. Also, on your comment about the roads and why I think they should be not there, is that if the fire millage should indeed pass, that automatically frees up a couple of $100,000 for roads. So,
Goes both ways.
right, I understand. I get it. But in terms of vote, it would appear that the fire department
Was closer.
was
Yeah.
more important.
So I guess we've had good discussion. I think we're, oh,
Norman.
sorry, yes, trustee Paul.
I just want to say one more thing, and the numbers at 3 millage and whatever, and I made my point that we never have had any professional help on realizing what these numbers should be. It's all been done internally by people that are not experts. So this millage, I'm not convinced it's the correct number. So until we get that professional service of giving us those correct numbers, we don't know what it is. It's a number that was put together. So I just want to throw that out there and said it before.
I feel that that's an insult, Norm, to the people that have put work into this. I mean, Steve has done a tremendous amount of work and he is a professional. We had Rhino, an outside consultant, come in for free and do things with us. We've consulted with other professionals that have given input. So I don't think, in my opinion, I don't agree with that statement.
Okay. So I guess hearing the discussion on the table at this point in time with the motion and support sitting, I guess I look back because I would like a point of clarification from trustee Lappin. So we move forward with this motion. In the meantime, we're going to have the real discussions between now and November. Is that your anticipation, or is it move forward in a singular direction and this is our direction?
Well, I think that, again, as I mentioned in these town meetings, and as I've mentioned on any number of things that we've done, just because we make the motion or make the change or add a policy or do whatever we do, doesn't mean that it's done. It means that we can't just stick it on the shelf and expect that it's always going to be that way, because it won't. And so I do believe that without regard to what we look at in November, with whatever this motion may turn out to be, there needs to be discussions on not only the fire department, but any department that is going to be a moving target. You can't just expect the status quo. We have looked at the fire department as a department, and we just keep kicking the can down the road. Well, now the can has hit the corner and we have no choice. We did not do any planning with great respect to Norm. That budget has a great deal of room in it for all sorts of areas. So whereas I appreciate the comment, I have been doing this for a number of decades. And so I do believe that we should have ongoing discussions in whatever direction that may take us. And so absolutely.
And this budget carries through to next April. It doesn't end on November 3rd
Oh,
or
yeah.
whatever it is. So we do have additional time to work with. So
Oh, by all means, the reason that this seems kind of exacerbated is because of the truncated time.
Sure, of course.
It is, we can't change that date. We don't have another meeting scheduled between now and the date that it has to be submitted to the county clerk. But this is one item. Michelle and I have been working just randomly, sporadically, coming up with ideas of everything's on the table ideas, and we're at what, 14 or 15? That we haven't even started to discuss, at least as a whole, discuss yet. And that's really one of the unfortunate downsides of not working communally as an entire board, because now we have segmentation. We're not afforded any continued segmentation. We have to work together to find the resolution. I think part of the resolution, as the motion and the support is to hit that time, but that doesn't mean that that's the only egg in that basket. So that's all, I mean, because we need to look and put those 14 plus whatever other things that people come in. Maybe we draw in Thunder Bay Area Firefighters Association. Maybe we draw in every other township, explore the option of what an authority would look like. I can tell you right now, when it comes to fire departments, I've talked with Long Rapids, everybody likes their fire department. So to get an authority off the ground would be like asking for several days of rain sitting in a boat waiting for it. So there's a lot of topics that we can cover. I think that there's some opportunities to explore some conversations, utilizing other departments and other professionals in the field. Because you have nobody's disagreeing with decades of experience, but nobody has decades of experience other than firemen when it comes to fires.
No,
So,
agreed. And
so let's fold in, maybe that's where you fold in that Thunder Bay area.
I will point out that in addition to those other years, as you all know, I have worked with municipalities for 40 years. And so I can also tell you that there is not any fire department that isn't in the exact same quandary.
Yeah.
And so if there are times in our lives that change can be a good thing, because I get the idea that fire departments are like giving up your children. I get it. And so, but sometimes children have to move on. And so sometimes there may be opportunities in front of us for an authority unlike any other time in recent history.
But how, may I?
Yes,
But how does that look like more than a part-time, mostly a paid on call department, even if it's an authority? I mean, how are you going to staff all of these other locations other than, with the, how are you going to play the budgets? How are you going to, those folks, what would be in it for the outlying townships to join with us?
Well, there are many examples throughout the state of fire departments that have in fact created their own operations through authorities, and they work out well. Now, I can't answer your question, Russ, because some of those places are in more densely populated areas where those millage monies can be spread out. And so, as I would understand, any millage for fire is to provide fire. Doesn't mean that we provide our own people. It could mean that we outsource to a for-profit fire department or for an authority or for whatever it may be. And so you can't know until you begin to explore it. Completely agree with the supervisor in that that is a road that once you start going down that road, it could very well take, and as I mentioned in these these town halls, it could very easily take 3 to 5 years to make that happen. Everybody has to be, at least a reasonable amount of municipalities in the area need to be on board. There would be little reason for Long Rapids Township, for example, to be part of a fire authority. It would think, but I don't know. But the surrounding municipalities would make more sense initially.
Yeah, well, and there's a million variables. That's why I asked for a point of clarification, because these are the conversations that we know that we have to make a quick decision to get a ball back in play. That is what it is. But the real work's gonna be the conversations after this, the authority. What does it look like? You could look at it simply just as purchasing power, which is a deficiency for every fire department. We have 18-30% on average. Annual, if not biannual increases for materials. That's not just on our shoulders. That's every fire department within the county. So there's a million mechanisms that could be for the greater good. An authority for purchasing power. It could be sliced a million different ways. But those are the conversations that I look forward to having with everybody at this table, because we've started a list, but we're gonna have to define what our mission is as we move forward. I think we've had great discussions in the small dose. I think we need to have more. And that's why I think we should probably maybe have a workshop, but we have a motion and support. Let's get this off the plate. Right now, we have a motion and support to move forward with pushing the fire millage language verbatim to the November ballot to be delivered to the county clerk August 16th. Further discussion?
Right,
You said, we can do it before.
right.
That's a week from today.
Yeah. So seeing no other discussion, roll call.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers,
Yes,
trustee Kroll,
Yes.
trustee Reiner,
No,
trustee Polly,
No.
trustee Lappin,
Yes,
supervisor Skibby.
Yes. So second part of that is you all have your calendars. We can have a workshop because we're gonna have to start these discussions, and I think that these discussions would be overwhelming to an agenda just singularly, especially now with the reduction of meetings. So is she getting the calendar?
Yes.
She didn't get your memo.
It's my mom.
So we'll wait for Treasurer Ellery Summers, but I would like to start putting our foot in the door to having and maybe inviting guests after we have some workshops and saying, because those are some stones that have been unturned. I invite the Thunder Bay Area Firefighter Board and Council. Invite Maple Ridge, invite Sanborn, invite Wilson, anybody that we neighbor with, and have those discussions. And just put everything on the board, and what doesn't stick, doesn't stick.
Right.
But can honestly say at that point in time, there are no more T's to cross and I's to dot. So you got a calendar? Yes.
sorry.
Um,
about that. Turns out-
Obviously, these workshops would run independent of the motion that was just passed. So what is everybody's feelings of when they would like to get together and start the discussion? Yes.
These workshops or special board meetings.
Well, I guess the first one, I think we could just do as a workshop unless we had other items that we had to
But
call a
it's
special meeting
Still
for.
considered a special meeting.
Still a special meeting,
We have
but
to
we can't
post it.
vote on in a workshop. It's just.
That's why I asked. If it's a workshop, we can't vote on.
Exactly. But if we now, like I said, if we have the reduction of a meeting, if we need to call a special meeting to take care of other business, but it's a very short agenda, then maybe we just have this discussion on that agenda.
Why wouldn't we just call it a special meeting in case we wanted to take motion instead of, paying double?
Well, you
To
can't
have
do
a
one,
workshop
can you?
and then have a meeting. to make a
Well, but
motion on something.
but for a special meeting, if we don't have full 2/3 or full participation, then we can't vote if there's,
No.
and we can't add anything to an agenda if it's not thought of at the first
I
part.
mean,
So
so
six of one, half
I
a
think a
dozen.
workshop is more informal too. What I
Well, and I
mean?
think the first one, I think we could safely say would be a workshop. Let's just start a conversation because we don't even know what action could be taken.
mhm.
So, I mean,
So this would be
Why are we?
potentially a series of
Having this.
what? A workshop? Because there's a lot of conversation and there's one conversation that needs to be had. And that is, what is our mission and what is our plan? How are we going to do it? We already know that we're moving forward with looking to secure millage.
Yeah.
But that's not resolution to,
Right, but what's the difference if we pick a date today or in 2-3 days? And everybody looks at their calendar, because we still got a lot of stuff on this agenda that. And we have other things to do too, so.
Didn't take
well,
long to
and
pick
we
a
just
date.
reduced our meeting load by one per month. So 6 of one, half a dozen of another.
So are we doing these in the evening? So trustee. Kroll
I
can
think
be
that
there?
would be, with his new appointment, it would be the most advantageous to have a full board.
Tuesday or Thursday works best.
I mean, these are just conversations that we need, yes, look.
I mean, I guess the way I'm looking at this to, the millage language went on in August. It didn't pass. We're hoping it'll pass in November. In my opinion, the mission would continue on that same path.
You're pigeonholing yourself, I feel, to some extent.
But
If
we
you
weren't-
only keep yourself in one little, you're looking at a tree, not the forest. And even though we're
But-
not looking to harvest a forest, we need to have open discussion about it. So it's your position that
Well, to
now with this
continue
motion
to-
is that we just don't
No,
talk
my,
about anything.
my opinion, maybe I'll just re-clarify. My opinion is to continue to rebuild the fire department that we
Well, I
have.
think we have to
Not-
inherently do that in the meantime. That's just one of the things. We still have to afford our citizenry the best services and protection that we can. That's a constant. But the conversations are needed to be had.
Yeah, it's just, I don't see the urgency to set it today. I mean, we can do it tomorrow, we could.
I can call a special meeting 18, yeah. So I mean,
So-
if you just want me to call and not have input, I was trying to actually be polite and look at calendar.
I'd like you to pick a Tuesday or Thursday.
Noted.
My thought is, we only have a few weeks left of summer. Could we please do this conversation in September? I mean, is there an urgency to do it right now?
Right now, the first step is getting this piece of paper to the clerk on or before the 16th of,
I think that's a better idea, and after Labor Day.
okay, then I will call that workshop when summer is officially seemingly over, which I felt like this morning.
When, just to remind the board, and I can call in, presuming I have cell and or internet. I will be out for
Well-
all of September likely.
Well, then chances are you're probably gonna miss because you can't participate by phone or unless if it's just a workshop, then. you
Well,
could.
yeah, I was gonna say,
Just
if
Yeah,
it's a
so that would be.
workshop,
a
workshop you could
That would
do.
work.
yeah,
So that first,
so that may facilitate the need for. a
so
workshop.
September, Tuesday, Thursday, any other variables that we have to give consideration?
After 4:30.
And Thursdays aren't really good for me.
Okay, so a
So
Tuesday.
Tuesdays after 4:30 into September. See, this is how.
See
communication is
see how
supposed
we
to work.
want, we've narrowed it right down.
Yeah, wow.
So,
So
yeah, Tuesdays.
Tuesdays after 4:30, I'll let you know in September which Tuesday that will be.
I'll let you know what time zone I'm in.
The
Copy that.
20th is not good for me.
Well,
But
hey, there's a lot of days that aren't good, so anything outside of Tuesday.
So we're gonna pick a date.
We're not gonna pick a date. We're gonna enjoy the remainder of summer, it seems, and then we'll come back to the work at hand. That leads us to our department reports. Are there any questions by any trustees to any of the departments listed?
I want to know the fish count.
What was that?
I want to know the fish count.
The fish count. Oh, I could call a hotline and let you know what the fish count is on the Kenai River.
So is Alaska still awesome or are you still awesome? It was unclear.
It was
It was
$49. I was not awesome. Obviously yeah, please visit that place. It is pretty cool. But as always, horrible weather. The day that we left, our average fish run was 40,000 fish per day. The day that we left was 184,000.
Well, you couldn't have caught
Fish.
one out of 40,000 of them.
Oh, I caught my limit.
So I do, I mean, one of the, unless we're gonna get specifically into some of these areas. I am continuing to be rather concerned about the,
Expenditure operations and management.
yeah, now we are so far over what we contractually thought of, and I just wish I knew a solution to it.
Well, part
We're
of
just gonna have to-
part of this
Right.
is the exacerbation of this discrepancy is that we're on what average 3 months behind on one of our subcontractors in billing.
Because we didn't have any digs in.
We haven't
July.
had a dig
Right.
in July, and as of, I'm not even gonna say it.
Yeah. you know,
So Yes.
Well, there's obviously two parts for that. I'm glad that we're addressing these sorts of things, which again gets back to my other earlier comment about kicking cans down the road. Here's an example of what happens when you stop kicking the can and you got fixed up.
So to speak to trustee Lappin's concern, this is one of the reasons that if you'll remember earlier this year, the township submitted an intent to apply for funding for a project that would address the major cause of all these expenses, which is the water service lead failures. So in the event that that project is approved by Eagle and funding is given to the township, 100% of the service leads would be replaced, and that would eliminate that ongoing unpredictable cost. So that's obviously there is going to be some potential cost to the township, for that project, but it would be budgeted, it would be known, it could be spread out over time, and it would be at a much more advantageous rate, because right now it's like ordering things a la carte. You have one excavation on one street and it all has to be restored and the road compacted and everything corrected. And then the next week you're on the other end of town instead of doing them street by street, getting a quantity discount, basically doing all the restoration at once, buying all the materials at once. So we anticipate that the cost per service line would be half to a third of what is being paid right now because of the circumstances.
Yeah, and it looks like on average, those repairs sort of lead by lead are in that $3,000 to $5,000 range.
Much more than that.
All
much
said and
more than
done,
that.
there's probably an average of $8,500 to $9,000 per.
Yeah, and then there's the restoration, which the township has been in discussions last year and earlier this year in regard to the compaction and density testing that needs to be performed on a case-by-case basis, including the ditch line, in order to satisfy the road commission's requirements, which requires a lot of material. And as was said before, materials are more expensive, labor costs are more expensive, fuel costs are more expensive. And so those are not going down.
Yeah, and I realize that it's out of your control. I get that, but it's one of those things where won't it be nice when we can get to that place where we can be more predictable in our cost.
So any other discussion or questions of the reports as submitted?
I just have one quick question from Mark. You said the trucks are going to be built in September.
Yeah,
Well-
what the production date is.
Did they say when they will possibly have them?
Probably.
How long it takes to make them? Build them?
Maybe check it out.
No, I just was curious. if
Probably
you
by
knew.
the 1st of October, you'll have it.
No, I'll bet you it'll be probably closer to the middle of November, late November.
You think so?
Yeah, there's all these prep things that they have to do in transit and all.
We
these
did
things.
find out that one of the constraints on the vehicles were the rear wheel fender well protectors. So I said, take the rear wheel fender well protectors off, let's see if that changes anything. I don't know.
You can't do that.
I made lots of calls before. Best I have right now is the second week.
Chief, so you don't walk yourself into a corner, what is it that you say take off?
It's the rear wheel well liners. They said they could order them. at a different point for now.
Might be 2 or 3 times the value to put them, to get them afterwards, so I would be cautious of that.
I didn't know you could do that.
Okay. If there's no other questions of department reports, I would, there seemed to be a motion to go into.
I'd like to make a motion that the township board enter in closed session for the purpose of discussing confidential settlement negotiations with the township attorney and the pending litigation involving the city of Alpena water and sewer rates.
Support.
We have a motion and support to close open and go, or close open session and go into closed session. Approximately 11:40 or 12:42. So we have motion and support to go into closed session. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Foley,
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Flavich, yes. Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. This closes the open session. Okay. We're now back in open session. Is everybody with us? Everybody's back online. So we are back in open session, moving forward. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation of the township attorney to undertake a sewer and water study to be paid for from ARPA funds.
We have a motion on the table. Is there support?
Support.
Trustee Reiner, got there quick. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yeah.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. This is the second opportunity for public comment. This opportunity affords any comments to be not just exclusive of the agenda. If there's any comments from any of our online participants, please use the bottom taskbar to raise your hand or to shoot a message so that we can recognize you. Again, this is the last opportunity for public comment for the regular board meeting of August 9th, 2022. Seeing no online participants wishing to have public comment, further discussion for the greater good.
I just had one question, just an update on the benches.
Okay, yeah.
So go ahead.
So, Mr. Plowman, we've had now, I think we're on our second or third bench. No, and I didn't want to get into it. It's roughly, his cost is $300 a bench. He sends that, I forget the gentleman name that does the,
For plowing, it costs him $300.
that is per bench, $300.
That's what he charged.
That's what our charge will be.
Because we also get a bill from.
Yeah, and I didn't want to beat that dead horse because that was an unexpected expense. And so no, I will find other means. And so maybe that $300 will be a slightly increased, but not to this level because
We didn't know. Okay.
yeah, and so I didn't. Yeah, long and short. Any other discussion for the good of the order? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion on the table, support by trustee Polly, motion by Lappin, to adjourn. Any further discussion? All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Meeting adjourned at 1:46. Thank you very much.